I feel like collective, the energy here is the Temperance card. That's you. Temperance is a card of balancing, alchemizing, of healing. Being in two worlds, but connected to all. On a deeply spiritual level, it can represent what's known as an earth angel. Someone that is spiritually protected and highly regarded by the divine who helps others, which could represent you or could represent another person in your life, or just an idea, a concept. It also representing balance. Nine of Cups is the next card over, and that's a card of personal wish fulfillment. I'm working with my typical deck I start with, which is the Cosmic Tarot, in case anybody was wondering. I do try to use descriptive audio, so when I can, I describe the cards in more detail. This is, after all, tarot ASMR. So, personal wish fulfillment. Some of you are desiring to become this harmonious, balanced person, and some of you already are. There's going to be multiple groups in the collective that I'm speaking to in this reading. So, use your imagination. Next to the Ten of Swords, somebody has come out of deep betrayal, or some of you are stuck in deep betrayal, stuck in this anguish. Some of you have just overcome it. Whatever it was something to do with your stability that knocked you off. For those of you that have just gone through it. And again, the entire message, this entire reading may not apply to you. It may only apply in certain sections when I channel into different energies. So, you know, like the Temperance card here, definitely see if you can have some patience, you know, because this is an adventure, and you get to choose your own adventure. All right, I'm just your guide. So it's interesting, even though whatever this betrayal was, and I mean, betrayal is one way of saying it. It could be like collapse of mental systems, ways you thought about things, because swords, air, represents intellect, communication. But typically the Ten of Swords is depicted of an ending. And for some of you, this ending is not over. That's why you're deeply desiring balance and harmony in your life. And even those of you that have already come out of it are also desiring to stay in the energy of balance and harmony, because either way you see it, there is a lack of security here with the King of Pentacles in reverse. And that's okay. You know, we all get off the wrong foot sometimes. We get knocked off our path. But I mean, the next card here is the Ten of Pentacles. So it's like, even though something didn't make you feel very secure, and again, this could be mentally, emotionally, financially, materially, we have the Ten of Pentacles here. There is like ultimate wish fulfillment when it comes to material needs. And with Five of Wands in reverse, that's usually a card of competition, of fighting. It can also represent friends being petty with each other and competing and playing and getting a little wild. You know, the original playful version of the card is really that kind of energy. It's not all toxic. By the way, I do my best to not drop into karmic energies. So if you're looking for like readings on your person or love specific, I'm not really your jam, and that's okay. I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you'll hit the like button. It is a simple human kindness act that I deeply appreciate. I'm also a very straightforward yet compassionate reader, so keep that in mind. I do try to let people know that as a guide, as a healer, as an intuitive, and when I'm channeling, I'm speaking from source consciousness, okay? And half the time, as most intuitives and whatnot will tell you, is they're not fully aware of what spirit is channeling through you at the time. So, you know, sometimes we have to go back and listen to a message a second time in order to collect all the information that we may have not been able to see at the time that we first perceived it. And that felt like a channeled message for somebody. So keep that in mind. I pulled the 9 of Wands in reverse underneath the 5 of Wands in reverse. For a small amount of you, you were in competition over a prize, you could say, with the 10 of Pentacles. And this has completely defeated you. It has worn you out, and you are pretty much in a state of burnout and collapse. Now, listen, before you click off because it's getting a little quote-unquote negative, I'll have you know that this card of Temperance is also about transmutation, right? Transmutation is alchemizing energies, which we are all capable of doing. And it requires a certain level of emotional intelligence in order to do so. I do actually, indeed, know how to transmute energies and work with energy. And people have told me, and I have observed, that throughout my readings, I tend to transmute the energy. So if anything, quote unquote, negative or shadowy comes up, it's because Spirit wants you to pay attention to it. And if it doesn't apply to you, then of course don't take it. So we're going to move forward now. All right. So for some of you, you have been devastated, and this Temperance card could also represent somebody in your life who is trying to offer you balance and harmony and stability. And their wish fulfillment is to help you through that. And I'll say be careful with codependency, because codependency is a trap. And codependency can be on either side of the spectrum and everywhere in between. Okay? So sometimes some people will help others because they need others to rely on them, right? And I just pulled the Magician underneath Temperance. But some of us know that we can create magic through alchemy. And it starts with the mind and the emotions, and then it becomes the material. Again, Temperance, as above, so below. So we're looking at taking a thought and turning it into a physical reality. If you know how to manifest and work with your reality, whatever you want to call it, whether it's prayer, whether it's spells, whether it is the law of attraction, or chanting, or scripting, or it's all about attracting and using the laws of the universe. Whether you're conscious or not of that being so, that is what it is. It's all, nobody's arguing the existence of, when you believe in something and you are highly spiritual, and not everybody will resonate with this message, then you know that you can co-create with the divine, whoever that divine may be for you, right? And the Magician represents someone who is able to use everything around them to create the reality, the vision, the image in their reality. But you have to alchemize the self before you can see balance on the outside, right? So for some of you, it's some of you on the more, and when I say higher or lower octave, higher or lower plane, higher or lower frequency, it's nothing disrespectful. It's about energy. It's not personal. When you do the work on yourself and you get to a point of self-mastery, then you are at a higher frequency because you worked for it. And manifesting or alchemizing or balancing everyday life requires a certain level of skill and the desire to carry on, right? For some of you, self-development is a deep wish fulfillment, and it's brought you great balance and stability, and has taught you how to alchemize. Some of you are earth angels, some of you are alchemists, and some of you are just extremely charitable, stable people. Some of you could be spiritual leaders, especially with the magician underneath temperance. If so, hello, welcome. I hope you'll consider joining my community. For some of you over here, you have witnessed, if you are that temperance character, you have witnessed somebody go through this process. Let's pull some more cards on this. Ace of Wands in reverse. And that came out underneath the King of Pentacles in reverse. Get another card. Seven of Cups under the Ten of Pentacles. Whatever this prize was that you and others were competing over, was a very confusing process that caused a lot of disillusionment and confusion and chaos. This completely repulsed some of you to see with the Ace of Wands in reverse. Some of you feel like your hot new beginning, especially something that you thought was going to bring you a lot of security, make you really comfortable in life, it just didn't work out that way, and it seems like you have a block on your new beginning now for some of you. And some of you are stuck in your wounds with the Nine of Wands in reverse card. Again, I'm going to remind you all I'm a very honest guide. I also talk about my subjective astrology to help the collective understand astrology objectively and also subjectively with their own charts. If you know anything about astrology, you can kind of follow along. If not, I'll try to kind of explain. But I thought that was necessary to mention for somebody. I have a Cancer rising, so I have the mother archetype as my rising sign or ascendant sign, which means I represent in my personality that nurturing yet, you know, authority figure in that sense. So I have a very nurturing yet straightforward way of guiding others, and this is soul work, and I'm not here. While I appreciate all the likes and comments and subscribes and all that, that's not why I started my channel. Speaking of channeled messages and all that, I mean, look, and transmuting energies, I started my channel doing just singing videos, just silly hangout videos. I've got a couple of piano playing videos, and I didn't have any intentions. I was just following Spirit's lead, right? And that's part of the spiritual path, is trusting Spirit and taking a chance on things that you care about. Finding a way to transmute serious hardships into lighthearted play, because when you learn how to master transmutation, which seems to be the heart of this reading with the Temperance card, you elevate yourself. And we're not talking about other people, we're talking about your own journey. And as I say that, I pull the Chariot card, which is about a journey. It is about heading towards something quickly. Pull another card. The World. Wow. Okay, well, Welcome to whoever just made their presence known in the reading. You have very strong energy, or you are going through something very profound. Take it as it resonates, because when something big is happening in our lives, we tend to get a lot of major arcana cards, okay? We have Temperance, the Magician, the Chariot, and the World so far. So that's interesting. This is also a polar opposite major arcana here. The Chariot and the World represents Cancer and Capricorn, and it's interesting for those of you that caught the June Astro highlights. We talked about, in about the middle of the recording, about the parental authority figures and how there was going to be a polarity experience triggered on or around the new moon in Cancer, which is going to happen later in the month. And again, if you're watching, listening, whatever you want to call it, this recording later, it could still apply to your life. Think about how it could apply, where it could apply. Okay? These are timeless messages, so it could be about past, present, or future for you. So there is an emphasis here on authority figures, and I was just talking about Cancer energies, and I think it's funny that we pull a Cancer card. And the World is Capricorn, right? It's the father archetype. Anyways, check out the June Astro highlights if you're interested. This is about having some kind of stability in your world. You want to move towards being seen on a certain level, and I pulled this underneath the Ten of Pentacles, and it's covering up the Seven of Cups. So I feel like this other energy that we're reading on now, and it may apply to others from the past in this reading, but I feel like this is a different energy here. This Capricorn energy, or Saturn energy, with the World under the Ten of Pentacles, you possibly are being seen for your gifts, where someone is moving you swiftly into that potential. I feel like for some of you it's important to note, to remember what you have worked on and what you have built. And even though we want to help others, we are not obligated to sacrifice ourselves for others. Okay? We have to think about what really does keep our balance and harmony. And if this is about, if you are in the position of the Temperance, of the Magician, and there's somebody in your life that you love, it seems like you do love, whether they're a friend, a family member, romantic. I'm feeling past energies. I'm not feeling like this is somebody you're currently romantically entangled with. Again, for some of you, it could be a parent with the Chariot and World polarity. It's possible for some of you that this is about a parent. It's somebody who constantly keeps coming back and expecting you to meet their needs. And while some of you may be in a position to be able to care for others, and it doesn't put you out, it doesn't knock you out of balance financially or materially, what is the cost emotionally? And as I say that, the Sun in reverse falls out of the deck. So it costs you your happiness. I love it when the cards shoot out exactly as I've just said them. It's almost like I'm a psychic. Anyways, alright. So you have to remember what you're building here and what you're moving towards, and remember any energies we are connected to affect our manifestations. If you are manifesting, if you are setting intentions, if you're praying, if you're hoping for, if you're building something steadily in your material world, and there is an energy that keeps trying to come back in your life, no offense, but kind of like a parasite. And I'm not saying that everyone who is in this position is a parasite. I'm talking about this particular group of people who are experiencing this, the energy that I'm picking up on. So we're not talking about the group at the beginning, okay? If you're taking it personally that way, look at your wounds and ask yourself why you feel like I'm attacking you, because I'm not. I promise you. All right, so when it's not just about how it affects your emotions or how it affects your material, it's about how it affects your energy, right? Because we're talking about balancing energy with the Temperance card. While you may have the propensity or capacity to transmute energy, it doesn't mean that you should be doing that for everybody. On a subjective level, I had to learn where to channel my helpfulness and my love and my guidance, and I found that for me it's through my work, through my spirituality, not my interpersonal relationships. And that is how I went from somebody who used to be codependent many years ago. I healed myself, and then I did the work, and now I am an interdependent person in my relationships and an independent person in my life. Okay, so it is possible for you to become that. And if you have got to a certain level where you are there, you know how much you don't want to test the waters. Some of you have been tested too much, you've gone through too much, and you haven't felt like you're ever going to be stable. Because you got to remember, when we fall back to help people that keep pulling on us, keep taking from us, but never trying to help themselves, we become mixed up in that energy, and it can mess with our path. It can mess with our focus. And anybody who's dealt with trauma or, unhealed people, we're not going to use the typical title that people use. But if anybody's dealt with that in their life and have experiences of it, some of us have very strong boundaries for a reason. And we want to remember, and this is all through Spirit. Spirit really wants this message to come through. You have to remember that if you choose to sacrifice yourself, because it is a choice, you choose to take that energy away from what you love, away from what you're building, away from your stability. Now again, it's not to fear giving to others, it's to be aware and make wise decisions on what you want to manifest. And sometimes there are ways that we can help others that doesn't require being directly involved with them. And if you are in a certain status of life, and some of you are, there's a way that you can still help people without being hands-on, right? That's where boundaries come in. So what kind of advice could we give the energies, the part of this community in the collective, on going forward with these kinds of attachments and relationships? Because remember, when people attach to you, their energy starts to become entangled with your own. And that's good to remember across the board, not just with people that come in and out of your life. It can also include work situations, homes, environments, ways of thinking. These can all become attachments that can negatively hold us back. And if you are this temperance figure over here, where you are a spiritual worker, a healer, you know how important that is. As big of a heart and open mind as you may have, you know. So the question is, for those part of the collective, what advice do we have for these people? Two of Wands in reverse. You already know the way. You already know that for some of you, there is no more roads open to these people. Roads are closed. For some of you, you've had to put up very strong boundaries and focus on one path, not two, because Two of Wands in reverse could also be the Ace of Wands. And remember, we had the Ace of Wands in reverse here, and happens to be under the Two of Wands in reverse. So it's almost like, for some of you, you've already had to experience an Ace of Wands situation, and now you are in a new beginning, a new passionate beginning with spirit, with divine, with yourself, with your passions, or for some of you, a new loving relationship. And you don't want to sabotage that by making yourself have to have a fork in the road of considering unhealed people who refuse to help themselves. And for some of you, you have to put up those boundaries, and that's okay. Yes, well, some of you need to put up boundaries with the Seven of Wands in reverse. And that's probably talking about those of you that feel like the Sun in reverse, where maybe you have success in other areas of your life, but whoever this person or place or thing that represents from the past that keeps sabotaging you in a way, you're not defending yourself against it anymore for some of you. Yeah, the Star. It's about healing and shining your light. And for those of you that are light workers with the Temperance card and the Star, you understand the importance of rising above it and not fighting, not even making it a possibility of action. And the only way you can do that is by separating yourself, cutting the cords in a respectful, loving way, and focusing on your own healing work. And also, if this has to do with the parent or your own paternal nature within yourself, balancing the divine masculine and divine feminine and neutral energies within yourself is going to bring you into harmony to help you heal. And remember, you are the magician over here. You control your own reality. You can create this. You can alchemize. You can heal yourself. And also, some of you are having a bigger purpose where you are working on healing others. Yeah, okay, Prince of Cups in reverse. For some of you, this is about romantic endeavors where you have been love bombed